Yo dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could join it or something.
The goal set for the Pennywise video has been reached, so let's do this. Now originally this was going to be a comic book Invincible vs Manga Deku video, but after doing the research, the fight wouldn't really be much to make this video. Which is why this video will actually be comparing TV series Invincible against Manga Deku instead. And as we are now, that's end of Season 3 Invincible vs Deku before he loses one for all, basically to keep an interesting fight for this video. But before we get into that, since we set a goal for the last video, come on, we gotta set one for this one. So if we get 400 likes in the first, let's say, 2 days of this video being uploaded, I'll cover Metal Sonic vs Infinity Ultron for next week's long form video, since that's what everyone voted for. Anyways, let's get into this. In terms of his scaling, it can be a bit shaky at points, because Invincible has some crazy anti-scaling in both the comic and show, since Mark gets beaten by weaker and slower characters because he holds back a lot of the time, which is actually very infuriating when you're trying to watch the character being stronger just to get beat up by fucking bugs. So the Invincible we will be using is the one who fought Conquest. Invincible in Season 1 was mostly beaten up and got multiple durability feats, but he also slammed Alan into the moon, which had a calc reaching mountain levels of power, with speed in the relativistic ranges. But in Season 2, he's on an entirely different level as he is casually able to hold up the fraud himself, who could do better against a weakened Omni-Man than Mark did against a more weakened, holding back Omni-Man. And by the end of that season, yeah, he still gets whooped by an Omni-Man tier character, but she wasn't holding back or weakened like Omni-Man was, so it's progress. Then by the time of Season 3,
over the last 90 days, Mark's speed has increased 65%, his endurance 70%, and his strength, and we checked this wasn't a mistake, 138%. The science team is already working on a heavier version.
Now, I looked into that speed feat Mark showed of flying to the moon and back, thinking it'd be a good speed feat, but it actually gave a pretty good count for strength, with the shockwave having a yield of 19.88 teratons, with the dust cloud formed having a yield of 1.63 petatons, giving us a neat baseline for a pre-Season 3 Mark. He could also compare with the other Viltrumites that even with Nolan holding back, they could still hurt him, and with Cecil and Donald thinking he could beat Anissa as he is, he mostly gets that concrete scaling to Omni-Man against Conquest, because Conquest is stronger than Anissa, who in by turn was comparable to Omni-Man, which would scale peak TV series Invincible directly to Nolan and his showings, like his feat of rushing through the Flaxen planet's atmosphere, as well as having the speed to carry the Thraxan ship across the galaxy. Both stats are calculated to 6.13 exatons and 32 million times faster than light respectively, and with Mark not really having much in the powers department besides flight and heat resistance, I think it's about time we cover Deku scaling. For starters, Deku scaling at 45% was matching a Shigaraki, whose strength was already stated to be on the level of All Might in his prime. If not, both would be stronger than this, which would already give country to continent level scaling. But even ignoring this, a hit from a much weaker Deku could destroy Dark Might's ship, with a calc reaching 11.78 petatons, so his overall best would be leagues beyond that level. Then when fighting a stronger Shigaraki, he did better than a lot of the other heroes, who already tank the air cannon attacks that have calcs reaching 97 petatons. Now something I should mention is that Deku's one for all's percentages aren't exactly linear. I mean, you got a 20% Deku getting shit on mostly by overhaul, then 100% no diffing an even stronger overhaul. Luckily we do have a line of multipliers we can use for the percentages that actually helps find the overall difference in power. Farjin was capable of reaching Deku's power after a quintuple Detroit smash, which will give the quirk at least a 5 times multiplier. To reach a false 100% Deku at 45% one for all, he needed the amp of Farjin, meaning it's likely that true 100% one for all would be above a 5 times amp over 45%. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but it's something we could take. Anyways, taking this to the scale, a true 100% Deku would be over 485 petatons, with Overdrive Deku, using all of his quirks, and 120% one for all, would reach at a bare minimum 2.425 exatons of TNT. This would be consistent as the final smash that defeated the strongest version of Shigaraki, has calculations ranging from a low ball of 4 exatons to a high ball of 78 exatons. In context of the fight, Shigaraki just absorbed one for all, and Deku is running on the quirk's Embers, like All Might did against All for One, meaning Deku with one for all's Embers would be reaching moon level. Speed is a bit easier to yap about. He upscales a lot of lightning and light timers back in Season 2 and 3 with calc stacking. Deku's speed would get much higher, but luckily we have a gear shift amp Deku throwing Bakugo fast enough to blitz All for One's perception, and that was calculated to over 13,000 times faster than light, and his added quirks and going overdrive would make it much faster. Yeah. So who would win in a fight? Putting their stats together, and you can see why I think the fight is closer than most people think. While both don't go all out for different reasons, at their best, Overdrive Deku would be nearly 13 times stronger, but Invincible would be over 2,365 times faster. But this gap in power and speed doesn't give us a concrete win. Mark's speed gap may be higher, but in Invincible, when you hit someone too strong, you just start hurting yourself. This fight is mostly decided on their versatility and skill, as well as how the characters are. This is where the fight turns from being unsure to where it's very likely one of them comes out on top, like 8 times out of 10. Izuku, even before getting One for All or understanding his powers, studied heroes to the point he could combat Bakugo at the time, who was much stronger and faster than he was. He could even react to and even counter his hits. With his quirks, he had to learn useful ways to hold back the power he had since his body couldn't handle it, and he could use it efficiently. Even now, Mark just tries hitting something, and if that doesn't work, he gets mad and tries again. If that doesn't work, he's screwed. Deku having access to Black Whip could restrain Mark, and he wouldn't be able to do anything due to the strength gap. He could use Smokescreen to get hits on Mark and catch him off guard, and Danger Sense in case Mark gets too close. So in conclusion, the speed gap is a problem Deku could probably counter via his hacks, superior strength, and battle intelligence, while Mark can't do anything besides use that speed gap to evade and probably fly away. Now, if you saw the gap in power between TV series and comic Invincible characters that I have covered in Battle Beast vs Vilgax, you would kind of understand why it's matched this way. Comic Invincible would have a much bigger speed and strength stat that Deku can't really even compare to, even when being generous. Deku's hacks and skill wouldn't even help him from being, like, speed blitz in one shot. I mean, unless Mark is on a streak.